I just discovered a way for Greta to actually consistently shoot contested trees. Let's talk about that. So, firstly, let's talk about what Greta's job actually is in the first place. And, to put it simply, Greta's job is to actually shoot contested twos. That is it. It's not her job to shoot wide open twos, it is to shoot contested twos because she is incredibly accurate with those. And with my discovery, you can actually shoot contested trees with her, I'd say pretty accurately too. A 40 to 50% chance of actually getting 3-pointers even though they're contested to go in. That's pretty nutty. That is pretty nutty, I'm not gonna lie, but yeah. Let's go ahead and talk about Greta. So firstly, let's go ahead and look into her abilities. So here we can see Greta's abilities, and we'll start with her 3-point ability, 72. That's actually incredibly high for a small forward. So that's a really good 3-point shooting rate for Greta. But it's not her stat that makes her unstoppable at 3-pointer, even though she's contested. We'll talk about that later, but for now, all you need to know is 72 3-point shot at base. That's incredibly good for a small forward. 70 at mid-range, one of the highest in the game. In fact, it might be the highest. I think it's the highest right next to Camille. But yeah, very high. 47 close shot, that's actually not too bad, but that's not her job. 47 dunk, that's actually pretty low for a small forward, but again, it's not her job in the first place. So 34 steal, don't bother with that. 46 dribble, 41 pass. Now 58 speed, this is actually pretty good for a small forward. Actually, it's about the average for a small forward, but don't get it wrong. Greta's actually pretty fast, even with just a 58 speed stat. This is actually not too accurate because she is actually pretty fast. I'm not gonna lie, even without additional speed, Greta is actually a pretty fast character. 53 jump, that's actually pretty good, but again, it's not her job to actually shoot those close shots. 33 rebound, pretty bad. 37 block, about the average, and 30 power, which is actually pretty low, but again, it's not her job to dunk on anyone or blocking dunks anyways. But yeah, with these stats being said, I'd say just focus on either giving her more mid-range or more 3-point shot. Again, we'll talk about that strat that I've mentioned earlier in just a little bit. So now let's go ahead and take a look into her different skills. Alright, here we are at Greta's skills, and as you can see, she's looking a little different now. I realized I actually had an extra die, so I went ahead and used it and actually got proficient drift floater, which is pretty good. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and talk about her different skills now. So firstly, we have double pump. Now double pump, not really that important, not really necessary to get it. It's not really something that you need to be successful with Greta. Again, it's not her job to dunk, it's not her job to actually lay up, but a second option if you manage to go inside, a second option to either just dunk or double pump, it is pretty nice to have. It's a pretty nice skill to have. Again, not necessary, but if you do have it, it might come in useful. Next up, we have fadeaway mid shot. This skill after the buff has been really good, and it's especially good with Greta since all her mid-range shots are actually moving shots. So again, this is actually really good. Make sure to get this for Greta. It actually does come in useful. Next up is flash shot. Not really much to explain here. Everybody who has flash shot needs to get flash shot. It is one of the most important skills in the entire game, and it allows you to score so good. So make sure to get flash shot. Now, onto her exclusive skills. Firstly, we have enhanced mid shot. Very important for Greta. It is her job to shoot contested 2-pointers, and if you do manage to get wide open mid-ranges, this also helps as well. So make sure to get enhanced mid shot. It is a very important skill for Greta to have. Now, we have shot pass. Again, very important for Greta, especially since it's her job to shoot contested twos, so you're more likely to make people actually jump if you are shooting with Greta, especially with flash shot, since it is her job to shoot contested twos. So shot pass comes in very handy. Make sure to get this as well. Now, on to her first level 4, which is her drift mid shot. Make sure to just mash this out as soon as possible. This is most likely her most important skill, just because of how easy it is to actually score with it if you're wide open or actually contested. By that I mean how easy it is for the ball to go in. 9 times out of 10 it is going in, man. 95% of the time your shot is going in if it's a drift mid shot. Even if it's close, even if it's far, drift mid shot is incredibly good, especially after the ace update with extra mid range. This move barely misses now. Make sure to max this out. Now, onto her drift floater. It's her second level 4, and make sure to get this to level 4, because level 4 is where the strategy I was talking about earlier actually comes in. Did you know that 4 to 5 of these, sinking 4 to 5 drift floaters, if you are an ace Greta, is enough for you to shoot 40 to 50% contested 3-pointers. That is not a joke. You can shoot in front of characters as long as they don't have extra, disturbance, such as Nikolai, Rika, Becky, or Jackie. As long as it's not those guys, you are going to shoot on their faces 40 to 50% of the time, which is actually really good. That is a really good shooting rate, all for you to actually shoot 4 to 5 drift floaters. So yeah, that's the strat I was talking about. Once you manage to hit 4 or 5 of these, you can actually shoot contested trees pretty consistently. So that's pretty crazy right there. But yeah, with that being said, make sure to max this out. It's a very important skill for Greta as well. So with these things being said, let's go ahead and get into a match and see these skills being used, and we'll talk about Greta some more. So firstly, let's talk about the teammates that you're going to want to get when you use Greta. And on the point guard side, what you're actually going to want to get with Greta are scoring point guards. Characters like Mo Chen specifically, but characters like Mei, Nana, Lily, Jackie, characters like those you are actually going to want to get for Greta, because in the high tier it actually is pretty easy to shut down Greta as long as you know what you're doing. But with those point guards, the scoring load is actually going to be lifted a little bit off for Greta as well, so it will help her out. And I've found that having scoring point guards is actually the most effective point guard to give Greta. And with centers, it's not really that important, but in all honesty, I do recommend that you get firstly, if you're doing the strat that I was talking about, which is getting those drift floaters to go in, then you are actually going to want to get a rebounder. And Robbie is a perfect one because of his big size as well, so his screens are going to help you with those drift floaters as well. But not only that, he can rebound as well, so Robbie would be perfect for that. But if you're going to use Greta just normally, without the drift floater strat that I was talking about, in that case, getting a defensive power forward instead is actually, I'd say, the better idea, because Greta doesn't really miss that much with her drift mid shot. So getting Alto or Ranger to actually play for you as the rebounder, if you're doing normal Greta gameplay, that actually does work better. But again, if you are doing the drift floater strategy, then you're going to want to get a rebounder who actually also has a big frame. So Robbie is perfect for that. Vanessa works as well, but yeah, it depends on the strategy that you're going to want to actually use. And if you're going to do the drift floater strategy, get a rebounder. If you're going to do normal Greta gameplay, then just get a defensive big. Next up, what are the matchups that you're going to want to get, or you are going to want to avoid? And In all honesty, I'd say the matchups that you're gonna want to get are going to be against dunkers who are actually pretty slow. You might have a better time against them because, you know, they're going to be a little slower than others. It's going to be a little harder to actually block you, especially if you use that drift floater. But yeah, dunkers, I'd say, are probably the ones that you're going to want to get, more specifically slow dunkers. But those that you're going to want to avoid are either dunkers as well, because you're not really going to be able to help block those dunks, but more specifically I'd say defensive power forwards, you know, like Nikolai, Alto, Ranger. They're going to be pretty good at blocking you, so you might have a hard time against them. So yeah, you're going to want to avoid those, and dunkers in general as well you might want to avoid, because you're not going to be able to help out on defense with blocking those dunks. But yeah, those are the ones that you're going to want to get, or you're going to want to avoid when you use Greta. And lastly, how does Greta go up against meta? And in all honesty, she's not really meta. In terms of Diamond, I'd say she's actually pretty effective. But yeah, she fares fine against meta. She's not gonna be dominant though, so it's a little hard to use her on high tier. On diamond and low though, you might have a pretty good time using her, and she might be pretty effective. But anyways, yeah, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful. I hope you've been entertained somehow, and I'll catch you in the next one.